everyone, my name's Maya. I'm going to be working on making this outfit which I'm wearing. I hope you'll come and join me. So I've gone ahead and cut out my pattern. The pattern will be underneath this video. You'll see a description box, and in that description box you'll find the link to the free pattern. So go ahead and download it and cut it out. Make sure you use your paper scissors for the cutting out part. And then I've taken my scissors and I've cut all the pieces out. So I've got my front, my back, and I'm going to put a little frill on it. You don't have to add this piece if you don't want to. We're going to start with the frill. So I've cut out 3 pieces and they measure... The reason I just did that was because I had a pair of leggings, which were mine, which had got a hole in them. So I've used the legging fabric to make the leotard out, because I thought it was quite pretty fabric. So I've cut up an old pair of leggings. So you can do that, or you can buy your stretch fabric, whatever you like. And we will be working with stretch fabric today. So this fabric, as you can see, stretches in both directions, okay? And as I say, this is legging fabric. Try not to pull it too much because it will go out of shape if you pull it, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is, when we work with a stretch fabric, we always use a zigzag stitch. We're going to put... but before we start doing that, we are going to make a gathering stitch, 2 rows of gathering stitch along the top of each of these pieces of fabric. The fabric, now mine has got a right side and a wrong side, okay? So always check which ways yours is going. So if you've got fabric, and we want to just put some gathering stitches, we want to put a gathering stitch in at 1/4 inch, and we want to put one in at 1/2 inch, or 3/8 of an inch is probably better if you can do that. So I've got my piece of fabric in the machine, and I've just made sure that the fabric is just underneath where the foot is, and I'm just going to run a straight stitch all the way to the end. And I've changed my stitch so it's on the larger stitch that I can make, and mine's a 7, but yours might be here or here somewhere. So we're going to just do a row of side stitches right the way along. And take it out and leave yourself a nice long end. You're going to use that for the gathering. And then if it's gathered up a bit like that, just pull it gently so that you get a nice flow on your stitches, because you want, when you go in this next bit, you want this to sit nicely on there. And we're going to go back and we're going to do another row of stitches just slightly underneath that, okay? Leave yourself a nice long end with that one as well. And do that on the other 2 pieces. So I've taken my 3 pieces and I've put the gathering stitches in, and what we need to do is gather it so that it's sitting the same size as the back, but you need to make sure you've got just the most tiniest bit, like 1/4 inch or less, so that we can stitch those pieces underneath, okay? So we're just going to come around. I'm going to take the 2 top threads, and you can knot the other end if you want to, but sometimes it's easier to work from both ends. And then just pop it on your finger. You can wind it around if you want to, just to hold it in place. And then just pull gently. Oh, your 2 bobbin threads, this is, sorry. We're just going to gather it along all the way until we get to the size that we want it to be. Okay, and then you just marry it up to the size of the back of your swimming costume. So I just looked at it all, and I think it was going to be better just to have 2, because when I put 3 in, it was just too much on the swim costume, it sort of goes halfway up her back. So we're only going to put the 2 pieces in. So just cut the 2 pieces which I'm going to put on the pattern piece. Okay, I'll take that one out. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I've gathered it all up on both sides, and I've just left the 2 ends a little bit flatter so I can get them into place. And I'm going to place it on, making sure that you've got the fabric the right way round. So that's my right way. So I'm going to pin it on along here. I'm just using my ruler as a guide so that I can get it just sort of straight. And I want to put the bottom of the gathering just there on that edge, and I'm going to come along and I'm going to do the same with this piece. And then as you come along, your stitches should come along and sit where my ruler is. I've put my ruler a 1/2 inch in from the edge, and you should be able to get that on a nice straight line running along there. So just come along now and just put a few pins in, not too many, just to hold it in place. You just want to keep it on that line if you can. Alright. Take these out before you get to it if you're concerned about it. Just going to put that out, make sure that's at the 1/2 inch there. Yeah, that's at 1/2 inch. What I did was I measured it with my board. So that's at the 1/2 inch there from that white line there, that yellow line there. I just put it like that. So I just put my ruler like that and then put it on there, and then that made it, and then I could make sure that it was sort of straight going all the way along. Okay. So just pin that in, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine and we will do a zigzag stitch right across here. Alright, so above your tacking stitches. So I've just come to the sewing machine and I'm just going to work on getting my stitch right for what I want for my zigzag, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change it to my zigzag stitch. Yours might be somewhere else on the machine. And then also the other thing that I'm going to do is, if I put it here, this is going to make my stitch bigger or shorter, so I want to keep my stitch on a 4 because that's the one I like to work with. But here, this one will move my needle across. So that's going to give me a really big zigzag, and that's going to give me a tiny, tiny zigzag. So I'm just wanting to have it about there, I think. So we'll try with that and we'll see what that comes out like. Okay, hopefully this position on the camera is okay. So it's very hot here today. Just going to place it on, and I want to stitch along here. Okay, that's just above that last row of stitching, and what I want to do is make sure that I don't get pull at this fabric at all, because it's a stretch fabric. It's really easy to pull and then it'll sit out of shape. So I'm just going to go across and stitch a straight row with it, and I'm going to take my pins out before I get to it. Make sure you've got a foot with a wide mouth on when you're using a zigzag, otherwise you'll just break your needle. Okay, I'm trying to get my hands as best I can in there so that you can see, okay. Right, and then you can do a back stitch and then come straight across. Just take your time. And if you get to a bit where you think it's sticking up, just use your fingers to push it down. Pin out. Pin out. Do a little back stitch. And then you've done. So you've got that first frill turned on, and we're going to go in a minute and pop the iron over it and just iron that down so it sits like that. But before we do that, what we want to do is just to come along and just take out those tacking stitches along there, and you should be able to just easily get them out, or you might be able to just pull at them. Quite often it'll come out this way if you just pull the top ones. You can just sometimes just pull them right the way out like that, and the same with the other one. Quite often they'll just pull out. There you go. That's it. Okay. Remove any other bits of thread and get rid of that, and then take the end off my thing there. There we go. Right, so that's your frill. So just go to the iron now, and just you want to turn that just under like that. Iron that just down like that, very carefully. Don't have your iron on too hot with this fabric, okay? So it should lay down nice and flat like that. So I just used the 2 smaller pieces out of mine, and I'm just going to check that I've got the right way round. That's the right way round. And what you want to do now with the second piece is you're going to lay that second piece just above that top piece, okay, so that it's sitting right on top of it like that. And then pop your pins in, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew it with the zigzag exactly the same as we did on the last one. So it sits just like that. Is to run around and do all of the pieces on the side. Don't worry about that, I just made a muck up when I was cutting it. I accidentally cut into it, so I'm going to have to wiggle that around. What you want to do now is to go around and put a quarter inch fold all the way around. So you're going to fold it back 1/4 of an inch like that, okay, and then we're going to stitch it right the way around and down all the way around. Now if you want to, you can go around and you can zigzag around here, all the way down here and up here, and all the way around there, all the way around the legs like that, and then around your top piece as well. So you can go around your legs, around your arms, around your neck, around your other arm and your other leg, okay? So I'm going to just go and do that, and I'm just going to just zigzag right the way around. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. So just went to the iron and just ironed it flat so that those are all laying beautifully and flat down like that. And the next thing we're going to do is make sure you've got the right side as your top. So turn it over so you're working on your wrong side, and then you're going to come in 1/4 of an inch. And you can get your piece of cardboard if you want to, with your 1/4 of an inch line on it, and you can put it on to the 1/4 of an inch, and you can press that along on that 1/4 of an inch all the way like that. And then when you've done that, we're going to take it to the sewing machine. So you're going to go all the way around. You're going to do here, 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 here and here. You're going to press it at 1/4 of an inch on this piece, and then you're going to do it here, 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 here and here on this piece, okay? And then we're going to, once we've done that, we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're just going to fold it over on the wrong side. It'll be folded over on the wrong side, and we're just going to zigzag all the way around each of those pieces. So I've been around and I've folded it all in at the 1/4 of an inch, and I don't know if you can see, it actually will stay at the 1/4, it won't sort of sit at 1/4 of an inch, but when you do fold it, it just goes back to that line there on that 1/4 of an inch. So you can do that. You can put pins in it if you like, but I don't like to put pins in too much stretch fabric because it tends to move it around. So you do all that all the way around. If you don't want to do that, you can just do it by eye, but you're aiming for a 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And then we'll take it to the sewing machine now, and we'll put a zigzag into it. So with this piece we need to be really careful because we don't want to stretch it at all. So we're just going to really carefully move it around without pulling it or stretching it. We're just using our fingers to guide that fabric in. And just be aware that you can take as long as you want with this, there's no rush. The door just opened by itself. And there you go. So then you can do a back stitch if you want to. You don't need to with this, but you can do if you like doing that. Okay, and then we're going to go all around the rest of it and do that on all those bits that we've already sewn. So once you've done that, cut off any long threads, and then we're just going to neaten up the back of this ruffle. So all I'm going to do is just to make a circle, a sort of semicircle shape, and I'm just going to cut that in like that, and that'll just neaten that ruffle up a little bit. There, that piece as well underneath, so that's not showing. We'll do exactly the same, and I'll follow that line around the same for the bottom piece. And we do that on both sides. There we go. So you've got a nice sort of rounded shape there on that one, and just do exactly the same on that side. If you want to, you can just fold them in half and marry up the shape by going like that and putting that one on top of it. So you've got your bottom one which sits there, and you can just cut that one to the same shape like that. Yeah, and then the same with the top one. Push that one out the way. There you go. Sorry. That's that one. And just do the same with the top one there as well. And then once you've got them on there, just check that they are laying okay. This one just needs a little tiny bit more cut to that side right there. That's better. Making sure that those bits are out of the way. There. There. So there's got nothing sticking over. So you've got a much nicer, rounder edge there on those two pieces. Okay. So once you've done that, we are going to take it to the machine, and we're going to take this piece so it's laying with this facing up, and then we're going to take this one and we're going to put it on facing down. And then we are going to join all the pieces up. So we're going to join the piece, we're going to sew across here. We are going to sew down from here to here. We're going to sew the crotch together, there to there. And we are going to sew right from there to there. Remember, try not to stretch it if you can. All right, just keep it laying nicely together like that. All right, so I'll just go around and I'll do all that because it's just basic zigzag stitch, and then I'll come back when I've got it done. So if you want to, you can pin this, but I find this just goes on just as easily as with just doing it like this. And what I like to do is make sure I've got a good bit of fabric sat on there first. Go forward a few stitches, and then go back a few stitches, and then come straight across. And then you can do a back stitch there if you want to as well. You don't really need to, but some people like to do back stitches. Okay, so then take your other two pieces, making sure they're sat beautifully together, and do exactly the same. So when you're doing a side seams, make sure you've got plenty of it under the foot first, and make sure you're lined up here at the top. And then just take your time and then do some back stitches. And then come forward again. Might need to give it a gentle little nudge just to get it over that bulk of the frill there. And then come here and get these two pieces lined up and go right to the end. Make sure that's laying the right way round. And then do some back stitches. Okay. So just going going to do the crotch now, so make sure you're on again the fabric and then come across and then do a few back stitches till you go right off the end, and then come right across again, just holding it here to try and keep those two pieces there together on the end like that. It just wants to slip for some reason. So keep those together like that on the end. And you come back a few stitches and then you're finished. So here it is all finished. This is it from the front. As you can see, it fits really nicely. Quite like the neckline. You could bring your neckline down further if you wanted to, but I didn't want it to be too revealing because she is supposed to be a little girl. So I quite like the front of it. You could put something onto the front if you wanted to, but I think I quite like it. And then I'll show you the back. And this is it from the back. I quite like it. And you could go all the way round with the ruffle. There's no reason why you couldn't go all the way round and have the ruffle coming around the front as well if you wanted to. But I quite like it like that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.